Hello everyone and welcome back to jQuery lessons on Codecademy. So in the last lesson we talked about how we can add and remove objects or elements from HTML. Today we're going to be talking about how we can edit them. So let's get started. So we don't have to limit ourselves to adding or removing entire elements though. We can fine-tune our jQuery superpowers to alter classes, CSS and even the contents of our HTML elements. So let's start with classes. jQuery includes two functions, .addClass and .removeClass. Functions that can be used to add or remove a class from an element. This is great if, for example, you have a highlighted class that you want to apply to an element when clicked. The syntax looks like this. So we have a selector, .addClass, and then with the class name. We can also remove it in a similar way, but instead of addClass we have removeClass. Where a selector is the HTML element you want and class name is the class name you want to add or remove. Remember, you aren't selecting anything, you're modifying your element. So this means that you do not need a pound or dot before your class. Instructions. Now that we think of it, that highlighted class seems like a great idea. We've supplied the HTML and CSS, so that's good. We don't need to write it ourselves. In the script.js tab, add a jQuery code necessary to make your text div highlighted when clicked. So, okay, let's do the simple thing of making the document a jQuery element first, and that is not how you spell document. Start, was it? No. Ready, that's the one. Function, there we go, and oops, I did not mean to delete that. There we go. Now that we have done that, let's start adding stuff inside here. So the first thing we need to do is something like that. And what do we want to put a class to? So we want highlighted to be the class name. Let's see if that exists. Yes, it does. That's good. And our selector is div. There we go. Make sure to click submit and then click highlight me too to see results. Okay, and as you can see, they have a small kind of shining effect around them, which before they did not have. Let's comment this out to show that they didn't have that before. As you can see, only the top one has the highlighting, because that should be indicated in here. Yeah, div ID, it has the class of highlighted there, but this one doesn't initially. So if we get rid of the comments, now you can see that the second one is also highlighted. So let's move on. Toggling classes. What if we want to toggle a class back and forth though? So that is, what if we want jQuery to automatically check to see whether our text is highlighted, so that when we click on it, it adds the class if it isn't there and removes it if it is. So as you probably guessed, jQuery includes a .toggle class function that does exactly this. So if the element it's called on has the class it receives as input, .toggle class removes that class. If the target element doesn't have that class, .toggle class adds it. So for example, now if we were to click this and had that active, it wouldn't be highlighted, but if we clicked it again, it would be highlighted, and if we kept on clicking, it would keep on switching. So what we need to do is change our add class to a .toggle class. Okay, that should be easy enough. Click on your pound text a bunch of times and see how it turns the highlighting on and off. Let's save and submit code. Oops, did I misspell it or something? Toggle class, I don't. Yeah, that is correct. Did you replace your .add class with a toggle class? I obviously did. Let me see. Okay, so there are two things I found out. Firstly, I had div here. If you put div as generally, one, it won't accept it, and two, you're also talking about this one as well, because you're talking about div. But what you actually need to do is change it to pound text, because we're just talking about the second one. Oops, actually, and that needs quotation marks as well. And secondly, it doesn't actually toggle. Now you can save and submit and it is going to accept it, but it doesn't actually toggle, it doesn't do what we want it to do. To actually do this, what we need to do is, well, it doesn't really say, Codecademy don't really say that you need to do this, but we want to do it, so I'll show you how. Is you need to use the click event. So we want to do this on the text, and when it's clicked, I think it's just .click actually, we want function, and here we need to close it. There we go. When it's clicked, we want to toggle it. So now when we click it, as you can see, it changes and it also accepts it. So if you really want it to toggle, you do actually need to add the click event. Otherwise it doesn't actually work, even though Codecademy haven't actually included that. And they haven't even included a feedback section on this lesson. That's kind of bad and disappointing. Oh well, let's move on. Changing your style. So what if we want to fine-tune individual CSS property values though? So remember, style equals height, 300 pixels, width 300 pixels. jQuery makes it a snap. Because resizing elements is common, jQuery has specific height and width functions that can be used to change the heights and widths of HTML elements. For instance, the element div.height 100 pixels and then div width 50 pixels would give all divs on the page a height of 100 pixels and width of 50 pixels. jQuery also includes a general purpose .css function that takes two inputs. The first is the CSS element to alter, and the second is the value to set it to. So for example, if you were targeting a div and .css, and if you were doing background color and you wanted to set it to that would be green, then you would just have to do this. You're targeting background color of this div and you want to set it to green. Well, actually this div is every div, but you get what I mean. So this would give all divs on the page a green background color. You can modify any element CSS attributes this way, so that's useful. Instructions, let's get some practice in. So change the div in our HTML document so it has a height of 200 pixels and width of 200 pixels and a border radius of 10 pixels. Let's make this happen immediately without the need for a click. So, okay, we want to do this then, document and .ready. I wish they just made this in for you. I might actually skip this from now on in the video, because it's kind of annoying to have me type it in. So we have done that, and we want to change all divs and .css with the semicolon there, don't forget that. Script error, that's probably because we haven't put anything in here, and oops, actually no, we can just use these. What am I doing? I will do that for the other thing. So we want height and width of 200 pixels. There we go. And then what do we want to do to this div? I mean to all of the divs with border radius. Let's change that. So that's the first argument, and second argument is we want to change it to 10 pixels. There we go. So now we get a rounded square. Save and submit, and we have done it. Although for some reason that looks like a rectangle to me. The height is a bit more, at least to me. It doesn't matter. Moving on. Modifying content. Finally, we can update the contents of our HTML elements, that is, the bit between the opening and closing tags, using the .html and .val functions. .html can be used to set the contents of the first element match it finds. So for instance, making an element of div.html will get the HTML contents of the first div it finds. So in this case, for example, it won't find a div actually, but if you had, I don't know, 3 divs, let's just do this for example, /div and shift home, and we had some text here, some text in here, some text in there, oops, not there, and there. If we used this, then it would target this one, and it would just ignore these 3. And this .html I love jQuery will set the contents of the first div it finds to I love jQuery, so only this one, if we did this. So let's just try it out, why not? We will have to type this out anyway, so I'll be back. And in here I'll just paste that. Oh, actually, it just changed all of the divs. That's interesting, but it says that it's going to only change the first one. Okay, I guess we will figure out then. We'll set the contents of the first div it finds to I love jQuery, but it finds all of the divs in here. Class equals that. Okay. I don't think that it's supposed to work like that, but we will see. .val is used to get the value of form elements. For example, if we use .vol on input checkbox checked, this would get the value of the first checkbox that jQuery finds. So that, I guess, is a bit more advanced in a way, but because we haven't done it. So instructions, we've added a paragraph to our HTML document. Use the .html function to set its text to jQuery magic is in action. Don't forget the exclamation point or mark, whatever you want to call it. Okay, P, and I want to set it to that. jQuery magic in action. There we go. So yeah, that's it for this lesson, guys. If you have any questions, then feel free to ask in the comments down below. I will be answering those as soon as possible. Other than that, if you enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up, share, subscribe. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down. Tell me in the comments down below why you didn't like it so that I can improve for next time. But until that next time, thank you guys so much for watching and goodbye.